Welcome back to the Drive Formula podcast, where we take trust, communication, and action to accelerate your team from 0 to 60. This is our enhanced audiobook, where one week we read the chapter from the book Driving Engagement, and the following week we take a deep dive into that chapter where the authors, Eric Lichty and Marcus Williams, talk about the principles in the chapter, their experiences, and really dive deeper into those principles. So this week is the audiobook week of Chapter 8. Please subscribe, follow, share. All of those things really help us and help get the word out about the Drive Formula, helping leaders and employees to be more engaged and more productive. You can find the book Driving Engagement by Eric Lichty and Marcus Williams online at your favorite online bookseller. We encourage you to check it out even if you listen while you're working or working out or mowing the lawn. Having that physical book allows you to take notes, highlight paragraphs that you want to come in and remember so that you don't forget. So, all right, let's dive right into it. This is Chapter 8, Signaling Quickly. It's not just the boss's fault. You may currently be in a leadership role, or you may be preparing for one. Either way, you are also an employee. Very few people in this world answer to no one. Even those at the top answer to shareholders. This chapter is for employees, so put on your employee hat. When you implement these strategies, you will become a better employee and a better leader. Every employee has a job to do or role to play in the company, just as every sensor or part on a car is integral to it running efficiently, or running at all for that matter. While some car parts are luxuries, others are added to comply with laws or regulations. The car might run without those parts, sure, but it would not be legal. It doesn't matter if you were hired to work the grill at a restaurant or to write complicated code for your company's groundbreaking AI software. You were hired to do the job so that your leader doesn't have to. When HR created the job announcement, they did so because the company determined it was worth the money and resources to hire someone to fulfill a specific assignment. Out of all of the people who applied and interviewed for the position, you were chosen as the best candidate. Your skill set was needed to perform a specific task or role. We have already talked about why it is important to keep employees in the role for which they are best suited. That is not at issue here. By virtue of the fact that you were hired to perform a specific job based on your specific skills and abilities, you took upon yourself the burden of ensuring your job is done correctly. That's right. It is not your manager's responsibility to ensure your job is being done properly. You were hired for that purpose. The automatic headlight sensor on a car is designed to detect and turn on the headlights when needed. It cannot do the job of the tire pressure sensor. The tire pressure sensor can send a signal to the computer that the tire pressure is low. The computer then activates a light in the dash notifying the driver. Then the driver has the responsibility to pull over to the nearest service station and add air to the tires. So yes, the driver may be responsible for fixing the issue by adding the air, but the driver will never know the tire pressure is low if the sensor does not accurately and efficiently communicate that information back through the car's diagnostic system. If you were given 60 seconds to write down all of the problems in your company, or more specifically, all of the resources you need in order to do your job better, you could likely draft a fairly comprehensive list. No job is perfect. There are always ways to fix problems or do tasks better. Now ask yourself, have I ever communicated that list of concerns to my manager? Employees love to complain, but they rarely take the steps necessary to fix any of their complaints. Your manager cannot fix a problem she is not aware of. In the next chapter, we will focus on how a leader can foster an environment of open communication between the sensors, you, and the computer, your leader. As issues grow or continue unresolved, morale dips and problems become the favorite topic of conversation between employees. That does nothing but foster discontent. Complaining to your coworker might make you feel better, but it does not allow your leaders the opportunity to fix the problem. It would be like the tire pressure sensor sending the low pressure signal to the automatic headlight sensor, and then complaining the driver never stopped to fill the tire with air. The driver will keep driving until the tire goes completely flat, or worse, blows. And then the tire pressure sensor blames the driver for the catastrophic failure. But if the signal was never sent, providing feedback can be scary and uncomfortable. But as an employee, you have a responsibility to communicate the help you need to do the job you were hired to do. Marcus. I once worked for a government agency that had all sorts of problems with employee behavior, leadership behavior, and morale. The behavior included unethical and even criminal acts. I did the job I was hired to do, yet consistently received feedback that I shouldn't be working so hard or creating so much work. My boss never came out and said to not do my job, but she still made it very clear she would prefer I lessen her workload by not doing more work than was absolutely necessary. This was my first, quote, grown-up job, unquote, and my mind was blown. I had no idea how to react. I couldn't believe the culture of laziness and downright corruption. Luckily, I was able to find a group of other employees who had pride in their work and cared about doing a good job. I latched onto them, but quickly began looking for another job. I should have known better, because one of the first things said to me when I reported for my first day of work was that I wouldn't last long in the job. That seemed an odd thing to say to a new recruit. But as time wore on, I understood the comment. No one with any motivation or pride in their work stayed there for long. I attempted to provide feedback and to fight for the tools I needed to do my job better, but it mostly fell on deaf ears. Eventually, I found another job and gave my notice. As part of the exit package, they gave me a feedback form to fill out regarding my experience working there. It was clear the form was just a formality. No one actually cared what I had to say, but I took the assignment seriously. I wrote a long document answering all of the questions on the form and detailing all of the roadblocks I faced in doing my job. On my last day, I brought in my completed survey. Because I knew it would just be thrown away, I made copies and placed it in the mailbox for every single leader in the agency, hoping maybe one would actually read it. I could not honestly walk away from the job without providing my insight on why their turnover rate was so high. They hired me to do a job, and then blocked me at every turn until I had to leave. I felt I had a responsibility to share that information, and so I put the ball back in their court, so to speak. So what happened? Well, I don't know if any changes were ever made based on my feedback, but I did find out years later that the woman who originally asked me to fill out the survey was so angry that I had shared my feedback with the entire command staff that she tried to get me fired from my follow-on position. One of my friends had to stop her and remind her she was opening herself and the entire agency to liability if she did so. I am definitely grateful my friend had my back. So, what's the lesson there? Sometimes your leaders may not give you the tools you need, and sometimes your position becomes untenable, and you have to leave. Hopefully, if your leader has read this book, that won't be the case. But that does not excuse you as an employee of the responsibility to diagnose problems within your realm of responsibility, and then report those problems up the chain. Don't wait for your boss to ask for feedback. Don't wait until the tire blows and then say, "Oh yeah, the tire's been flat for the last 150 miles. Sorry." You will see the problems first, and the earlier you report them, the earlier the problem can be diagnosed and fixed. Leaders have a great responsibility to give their employees all of the tools they need to do their jobs. But as employees, let's stop blaming leaders for our every problem. Instead, let's be part of the solution. How? Approach with the problem and a solution. When you notice a problem within your job or team, you have the responsibility to report it right away. We've already established that. But remember, you are the expert in that role. It's possible, if not probable, that your boss has never done your job and couldn't do it even if he wanted to. Telling him there's a problem is a good first step, but that does nothing to resolve the issue. Let's be honest. Your boss may want to fix your problem, but if he has no idea how, it is very unlikely he will have the humility to come back to you and ask. Leaders don't want to look weak or stupid in front of their employees. Ironically, humility shows strength, not weakness. But again, we will talk about effective leadership in the next chapter. Just assume that your boss needs your help. You are the subject matter expert, so you should be involved in developing the solution to whatever problem you've reported. Whenever you report a problem, always present one or more potential solutions to the problem. Explain what you believe could resolve the problem and why. But don't make demands. Approach with humility. Show your boss that you just want to do the best job possible for the company, and this is one way you feel you could provide better results. They might implement your solution, or they might go on another route. Either way, by providing that option, you will have demonstrated that the problem was real and that there were viable ways to fix it. You got the ball rolling. In the end, what matters is that your leaders were able to make your job better because you presented a problem and provided a solution in a way that helped them understand it was in the company's best interest to get it fixed. Can you drive on a low tire? Sure, but you are risking a blowout and decreasing the life of your tire. It is in the driver's best interest to spend 5 minutes now at a gas station adding air rather than replacing tires down the road. It is the sensor's quick communication that allows the driver to remain safe and prevent a much bigger problem. All right, folks, that was Chapter 8 of Driving Engagement. Next week, Eric and I will sit down and talk about the principles we've learned in Chapter 8, share a few more stories, maybe stories that didn't make it into the book but still apply. So please subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you are notified when the next episode comes out. And please share with your friends, with your leaders, with your coworkers, so that they may all learn the principles and benefit from the Drive formula. Thank you again for listening, and we will catch you next time.